Hello everybody, Spooky Sandwoman here. Thank you for checking out episode 28 of Seduce Me. Uh, we made out with Matthew. Trying to find, the weird little squirrel doll thing that he gave us. Apparently we named it Simon. Okay. I indulged myself too, Matthew. I looked at the time out of curiosity. The large white numbers on my phone showed 5:31 p.m. Yikes! 4 hours of being knocked out, and I still feel tired. It was Sunday, so I was allowed to sleep longer if I wanted to. The remainder of the night passed by surprisingly uneventful. The boys continued to train with each other, but were kind enough to stop and make dinner for me. I was glad for that. Unsurprisingly, the food was perfect, but it felt a little empty without the boys to eat with me. They most likely had already eaten, but still, I felt lonely. I couldn't let it bother me. I ate and went back to my room to study and sleep. Surprisingly, I felt good going to bed that night. I felt like I could have had a peaceful sleep after the previous rough nights I had. I felt good. I drifted to sleep and woke up almost flawlessly the next morning. No grogginess, no aches, perfectly energized and bright-eyed. Man, how long has it been since I got that much good sleep? I looked at my alarm clock. 10 minutes before my alarm. Well, hey! It must be my lucky day. Karma owed me some good luck. After all I had gone through in merely a handful of days, I deserved some. Ecstatic for the day ahead, I turned off my alarms before they could ring and got dressed. However, my phone quickly started to buzz from an incoming text. Huh? Who's texting me this early?
Yo, Anderson! You're carpooling with us from now on. We're not letting you waste your money on a bus. Get ready and be at your gate at 7 stat.
I smiled. My friends were the best. I couldn't drive yet, and I didn't have a car, so it was awesome that my friends would let me carpool. I checked the time. 6:30. Perfect. I can eat some breakfast before they come. I packed my bag and carried it downstairs toward the kitchen. As I entered the dining room, I saw a plate with eggs, toast, and bacon sitting on the table. A fresh steaming cup of coffee sat next to the plate with the sugar and creamer on the side. I walked to the table and couldn't believe what I was seeing, not singing. Who made this? I spoke a load. What? A load? Oh, God, Rachel, what is wrong with you? I spoke aloud. A small red note caught my attention. Have a good day. Yours. My heart skipped a beat as I finished. I could tell it was from one of the boys. Maybe it was from him. It was from him. I smiled before putting the note in my bag and eating up. The food was so delicious. I devoured every amazing bite. I looked at the time again. Time to go. I quickly rushed to the doors, checking myself in the passing mirror. I wasn't wanting to impress anyone, but I still needed to look decent. Before I could reach the handle of the door, however, someone took my hand. Huh? I turned to see Matthew, who was holding my hand back with a concerned frown on his face.
My name.
Your name?
My true name isn't Matthew. I want you to know my real name. If something were to happen.
His true name? What did he mean? Why was he telling me this now? Matthew gently pulled me to him and leaned in close to whisper in my ear.
My name is Zekeru.
As he said his name, I could feel it lock into my memory. Something in my head would make sure I would never forget it. Matthew pulled away and smiled at me, despite still carrying worry in his eyes.
If you are in any danger, call my name. I promise that I'll come and help you.
Matthew stared up at me, unable to say anything. I could only nod in response. Matthew smiled. My head itches, before releasing my hand and heading into the dining room. Something told me that name would be used eventually. And right on cue, Naomi drove up to the gate with Suzu waving me down. I rushed out the door and we headed to school, talking about the homework and the day coming. The day coming. What? Ew. We made it to school without a hitch. Our lockers were in the same part of the hall, so we quickly unloaded what we needed to and got our important books and necessities. Excuse me. First incident of the day. As I walked towards Suzu and Naomi, we were both waiting for me on the opposite side of the hall. Something hooked my ankle and made me fall forward. What? Ow!
Hey, are you okay?
Who did that?
The three of us looked back to see Lisette and her gaggle of girls. Lisette had a complete look of innocence while the girls around her giggled like no tomorrow.
Why, you little...
Suzu, don't!
I felt a giant fire of anger burn in my stomach as I stared at Lisette. Today was not the only time this had happened to me. However, it was now clear who was behind these incidents. Even if she was innocent and one of her goons did it, it was now obvious that Lisette was the mastermind just from the look on her face. She was no friend, nor would she ever be. I had to do something. I'm going to walk away. No. I wasn't going to bring myself to her level. She was a bully, and I was not going to let her get to me. I had to be stronger than her, and only then would I have beaten her. I stood up, brushed myself off, pretending nothing had happened.
Anderson, you okay?
That was a pretty bad fall.
Yeah, I'm fine. A fall like that is nothing. I merely smiled at them, not wanting to let them know the pain rushing through my body from that fall. My arms were quaking, my shoulders were pulsing, but I remained content-faced. I quickly gathered up my belongings and nodded to my two friends. Come on, we'll be late for history. Naomi and Suzu looked at each other before frowning and nodding to me. Naomi and Suzu flanked me as we began to walk to class away from the gaggle of bullies. As we walked, I could barely see Suzu flipping the middle finger to the group behind me from the corner of my eye. Go Suzu.
Friggin' bunch of Lisette feet lickers.
Ew! Gross.
That's gross, Suzu.
It's true. It's all OMG! Lisette is the best! Let's follow her around because we obviously don't have lives.
I like the way she said that. Naomi and I could not help but laugh. The group behind us, however, did not like Suzu's words.
At least my dad doesn't screw around in the black market to keep a stupid casino running.
Suzu stopped. Naomi and I stopped as well to look back at Suzu, who was completely red in anger. Suzu slowly turned ahead to the group, glaring daggers at them.
Fuck did you just say?
I had to act fast. I placed my hand on Suzu's shoulder and gripped tightly, knowing she could try to push my hand away. Suzu, they're not worth it. Let's just go.
No, I think it's about time we taught them some manners.
Suzu!
I looked at Lisette and her group. Lisette had a widely amused smile on her face, which irked me to no end. Nevertheless, I knew that fighting wasn't going to get us anywhere. Let's go. I grabbed Suzu by the shoulder roughly, pulling her back to Naomi and me. Suzu tried to step towards the group, but Naomi had held onto her other shoulder. We held onto Suzu, who fought against our hands as we marched to class. Surprisingly, the rest of the school day went off without another incident. I went to my classes, had lunch, and was anxious to get home. Maybe I could make out some more. As the bell rang for school to end, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. Huh? A text? From Dad? I'll be picking you up today. Make sure you're ready to go when I get there. That's kind of a surprise. I quickly headed back to my locker and got my things before waiting for Naomi and Suzu.
Hey, are you ready to go?
Actually, my dad's picking me up.
Really? Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense.
We'll drive home together next time. Tell your dad that we've got you covered from now on.
Yeah, alright. Even while I laughed, something didn't seem right. My dad texted me to say this? Why was he going to pick me up? Had I done something wrong? I don't know. My nose itches. I waved goodbye to Naomi and Suzu before heading off to the usual spot where my dad picks me up. I took the time to listen to my music while I waited. I need to go to another Rise of the Phoenix concert. I wonder if that's a real band. I should probably Google that. Eventually, I played the entire album with no one showing up. What the hey? My dad is never late. Especially not this late. I quickly dialed my dad's number again, but as soon as I pressed call, it disconnected and read a signal disconnection error message. What the? No signal? How do I not have signal? I double-checked my phone and saw all 5 bars for signal. He must be in a dead zone. Before I could finish, a group of hands grabbed at my hands, feet, and covered my mouth. I screamed into the hand over my mouth, struggling to pull away from the hands grabbing at my limbs. Way too many hands. The word hands. It felt disgusting and scary, feeling their hands on me. It needed to stop.
Hey! Don't dirty up Malix's prey.
The voice, which sent a fearful shiver down my spine, whispered into my ear.
You're coming with me, Miss Anderson.
I couldn't fathom what was happening, but before I knew it, I was blindfolded and my limbs were quickly tied up. I felt myself being carried somewhere and was shoved into something that echoed the interior of a bus or a van. The doors closed and off I was taken, unsure of where I was going and why. All I knew was that I was in trouble. All I saw was darkness. I felt numb as I was taken to a place I didn't know of. I couldn't even move my lips to scream. Sound zipped past my ears, first at the interior of a car, then the outside, then an echoey space with whispers and cackles of people vibrating through it. However, the wrap around my eyes was eventually removed from my face, and my bonds were cut. It took a while for my eyes to adjust, but I found myself in a warehouse, surrounded by devils, including Malix, who was smirking at me.
Nicely done! I'm sure those little shits will come running to find you when they realize you didn't return to your precious little mansion. They'll search everywhere.
Malix walked over and set the barrel of his gun against the skin between my eyes.
It'll be so funny when they find your dead body instead.
Cicada! All of a sudden, a bright purple light engulfed the room, causing the devils around me to cover themselves.
What the?
Gusts of wind rushed past me, almost forcing me back. I covered my face with my arms, bracing myself and standing my ground. I tried to peek through my arms to see what was going on, but the light continued to shine brightly. As the gust slowly started to die, and the light began to fade, revealing Matthew with his hands shoved in his pockets and his hood up. Matthew. Malix slowly moved his arms from his face, taking in the sight of Matthew before laughing hysterically.
Are you kidding me? You summoned the crybaby runt?
Malix's laugh was cut short, however, stopped by his gasp of pain and the thud of something embedding itself into flesh. I couldn't believe it, but somehow a knife had been stabbed into Malix's shoulder, causing him to grip at it in pain.
The hell? A knife?
Next time, I won't miss your throat.
Oh, dang. Malix snarled before ripping the knife out of his shoulder and tossing it to the ground. He quickly raised his gun and shot at Matthew, resulting only to stare wide-eyed at his target. In midair, a knife and Malix's bullet clashed and both collided to the ground between the demon and the devil. Dang! Matthew chuckled and pulled a hand out of his pockets, revealing a handful of knives splayed out like a fan.
Too slow, Malix. Must suck being an old fart.
Oh, Matthew, you were awesome. Malix instantly grew furious, charging at Matthew while shooting rounds at Matthew's shadow-covered face. Matthew followed suit, rushing backwards and shot his knives at each of Malix's shots. Each shot was stopped by a flying knife, making multiple clangs beat through the air. The remaining devils stared, trying to figure out what to do, help Malix or watch in silence. Eris, however, walked up beside me and crossed her arms as she watched it with an amused smirk on her face. As Matthew backed into the far wall, he stood still, tossing a knife upon knife at the incoming devil and his bullets.
Gotcha, you knife-throwing circus freak!
I saw a smirk grow on Matthew's face before he hopped up and flipped over Malix. The devil skidded to a stop, barely bumping against the brick wall. Matthew, however, didn't give Malix a chance to turn before shooting multiple knives into Malix's back. Holy shit!
Ah!
Bye-bye, Malix.
Matthew tossed a knife into the air and caught it before chucking it at the back of Malix's head. The knife, sadly, didn't get to meet its target, as Malix ducked out of the way and turned to face Matthew with a face of pure rage.
You little shit! You think you're all that?
Matthew brought out another knife and tossed it up and down in his hand, unchanged in his cool yet almost playful expression.
Little known fact, I just like having fun.
That's a load of bull, Matthew. You'll need to fight your demon form. Why? Are you afraid I'll kill you as the demon scum you really are?
Demon form? I didn't understand. However, Matthew broke my thoughts from trying to figure that out.
Hey, mind closing your eyes for me?
Huh?
What are you babbling about now?
Before I could answer, the tension suddenly went from warm to almost ice cold. Then at that moment, something in the air changed. The air instantly went from frantic to still in energy. What could have been described in tone as the color red quickly turned into a deadly mix of purple and blue as everything began to blend together all at once.
You asked for it, Malix. Now you're gonna get it.
My eyes never strayed from Matthew's face, however, even as it changed. His eyes began to glow a bright golden color as a dark blue circle formed underneath Matthew's bare feet. I stared as Matthew's skin began to morph and shift, changing from human to something else. For some reason, I was both scared and incredibly intrigued to see this new form. Before I was allowed to see Matthew's new form, however, a pair of hands quickly covered my eyes. Instinctively, I reached up and gripped them, trying to pull them off. A voice stopped me.
It's me. Don't look.
I listened carefully and let the last two words linger in my mind. Don't look. Why? What was being hidden from me? I wanted to know, but something told me to obey Damien's command. Excuse me. I suddenly heard gunshots, making me tense up, but then I heard the sound of multiple stabs, followed by Malix's screams of pain. The stabbing and splashing sounds of blood and flesh grew more frantic in number. How many knives was Matthew using? Maybe it was better that I wasn't able to see.
Matthew, enough!
Almost instantly after James's command, the sound stopped. The only thing anyone could hear then was the dripping of blood.
I guess I went a little overboard.
Malix is definitely dead, but you've lost your glamour spell.
Glamour spell? What did he mean? Why did Matthew sound so different? Why was this being hidden from me?
It's a spell that makes us look human.
I froze. Look human? They didn't have human forms after all? What did they look like?
Like demons.
Ooh. As Eric knew what Damien was talking about, Eric cleared his throat and spoke up, followed by the sound of a cork popping out of a bottle.
Well, not for much longer, Princess. Here, Matthew.
Oh, hey, you found my potion. Thanks.
He's so cute. I could hear the small clinking of glass being passed before hearing Matthew guzzle down a liquid of some sort. The feeling of the air around me gently began to warm up, insinuating that everything had been returned to normal. Finally, Damien moved his hands from my eyes, allowing me to see around me once again. The devils, including Eris, had fled. On top of Malix's body was a dirty sheet that was quickly turning red from blood. The wall behind it was painted in red blood, still dripping onto the floor and onto the blanket. The blanket looked like it was covering a mound of dirt instead of a body. The boys, however, had gathered around me, all of them, including Matthew, looking like nothing had happened. What just... I tried to speak out, but everything zipped around in my head, and the whole event, and I felt like speaking was impossible.
Let's just get you home, miss. There's nothing more to see here.
I could only nod. What had happened boggled my mind to the point of disbelief. I was second-guessing everything, lost in a sea of what and how and when. As we walked out of the warehouse, I looked to Matthew for some form of a sign that I wasn't dreaming. Matthew rubbed the back of his neck, walking forward as if to get away from what had happened. It was over. Malix was gone, and the boys were finally safe. A wave of relief ran through my body at the thought of never having to deal with that group again. At the same time, a ping of realization hit the back of my mind. The boys were only going to stay until Maxwell was defeated. Maxwell? That's not his name. That's Matt Hardy's boy. His baby. Malix, excuse me, I'm so sorry. That was our deal. As we approached home, I could feel something heavy weigh down my heart. It was late, but the boys led me inside and turned on the lights in the lobby.
Finally, we can relax.
You just murdered someone! You're so happy! Oh, Matthew.
It will be good to have some rest without devils breathing down our necks.
I'm just tired. Can I hit the hay early?
I think some sleep would be good for all of us.
I looked at Damien, knowing he could read my mind, and frowned. I didn't want him to know about my thoughts in this situation. Yeah, that sounds good. I just wanted to end tonight. Too much had happened, and I felt dizzy just from trying to figure it out. However, Damien spoke up, stopping all of us from moving.
Should we be gone in the morning?
The air became still with tension. The realization of the situation hit the boys like a wave, forcing them to turn to me in curiosity. They had remembered their deal and were now waiting for me to decide their fate. I gulped, face to face with the reality of the situation. The boys were leaving it up to me. They looked like they were willing to accept whatever I had demanded. It was only fair, though, after all that happened. I looked to Matthew, feeling my heart flutter in my chest. I didn't want him to leave, but would he ask to stay? I hoped that he would say no and ask me to stay longer. As if he knew what I wanted, Matthew moved and stepped to me, taking my hands in his. He smiled gently at me and spoke.
I want you to know that you've been really generous to us. And I want to thank you for letting us stay here. But Is it okay if we stay a little longer?
My heart skipped a beat while a large red blush ran across my cheeks. The boys stared wide-eyed at Matthew, who didn't dare to speak out. Matthew stepped back to give me space, returning to where he was. I moved my gaze across each boy, trying to make a decision. If they left in the morning, I would never see them again, and my life would return to normal. If I did decide to let them go, that would have been for the best. No goodbyes, no delays. But did I want to? They had done so much for me in a small amount of time. They are staying. I wanted them to stay. I wanted him to stay. I merely smiled, staring at the man that I had come to have feelings for, before speaking at last. I would love it if you all could stay. The boys cheered tiredly, but nonetheless enthusiastically. I giggled at the sight. It was cute to see everyone so excited, despite the tiredness that ran equally through our bodies. Today was a rough day. My home is your home, as long as you can still help with chores. The boys nodded in unison, agreeing to the terms I had set for them. Despite the good situation, I felt myself slowly slipping into unconsciousness. However, James clapped his hands together, getting everyone's attention and waking me up, making sure I didn't pass out on the floor.
All right, everyone. We're all very tired, so let's head to bed, shall we?
Oh! Yeah, sleep is actually a thing. Right.
We've had a very long day, but it will be good to just relax tonight and tomorrow.
Sleep sounds really good right now.
Yeah, man.
I watched a happy smile grow onto Matthew's lips. He shared my excitement, knowing that we would be together longer. Who knew how long we would stay together? All I cared was that I would be with him. The others quickly left to find rest, leaving me and Matthew alone at last. My heart fluttered a bit as Matthew practically skipped closer to me in excitement. It was really cute to see him that way, so I didn't do anything but smile.
Thank you so much for letting us stay.
You're welcome, Matthew. I'm happy to have you stay here. I watched his smile brighten a bit before he cleared his throat and chuckled a bit. I didn't know if it was the tiredness or my growing attachment to him, but I felt myself sway a bit on my feet. However, Matthew's face made it clear that he wanted to say something, making me forget that my bed was also calling for me.
Listen, about what happened at the warehouse.
No, it's fine. You did what you had to do. I understand. I had accepted everything that happened and knew that Matthew had to do what he had to do. He was real, and he was someone I didn't want to be without, and even if that meant nodding against my curiosity. Besides, I was too tired to explore the memory any further. Matthew nodded before holding out a hand to me.
Come on then. Let's get you to bed.
I should end this episode off here. Darn! Anyway, Matthew's adorable. I love him. He's so cute. If you're real, I just want to like ruffle his hair. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like or subscribe. Share with your friends if they like Matthew. Alright. Bye-bye.